tonight on 8.5-bit, we return, and I didn't think about this before.
Just say return and run with it.
Return.
There we go.
Welcome to episode 292 of 8.5-bit. The games in tonight's intro were Returnal, Resident Evil Village, and I guess Death Crown, which I returned to after playing it once, and then I played it twice.
Good enough.
What a game. I mean, was trying to make it a thing, but because I was like, well, we're returning to the village, but you're not really. It's just Resident Evil 4 inspired, and then I just lost all confidence.
You need to commit to the
That's a
bit.
good save.
I am your host, Paul, and joining me today are my good friends James.
Hello.
And Sam.
Hello.
And boys, how are we doing?
Yeah, going pretty good.
Solid.
Yeah.
And that's our show.
That's
Thank
it.
you for
Thanks.
watching.
Thanks. I gotta go take care of a baby.
Take care of a baby.
It's now the How Are James and Sam show. Good. Okay,
Good. It's just a check-in. I mean, this show. Look, I think we have mentioned before. If you've ever looked, especially at the YouTube views, which there are none. By the way, we're just playing with a camera that I've got. It should look slightly different for the four of you that watch the video.
3 now, because I was one of them.
Yeah. This show is not for you. It's for our mental health. But if you enjoy it, it's great. What I mean, otherwise we'd advertise it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Even when we do live shows, I forget to advertise the podcast.
I mean, we'd be doing all the ring the bells, the like and subscribes. Oh, our thumbnails. We'd be working on them thumbnails. Yeah, we just get Sam to do the thumbnail faces.
There are so many people that I probably like, and like I have connections to, and like are professionals and everything. But because they do like that face in the thing, I hate them.
But they have to.
I know they have to, but I hate them for playing the game.
They got to play the game.
They don't.
Well, they don't. Then they're like us.
We
have 4 views on YouTube.
Yeah, but
they want more than 4 views.
Put the face, and then you put a controversial title, like 3 white guys have an opinion. And then
that's a good name for a podcast.
It probably exists.
It probably does. I'm making you sad about the internet, Paul.
Yeah, but it is what it is. If you want to engage and do the business, you have to make the internet worse.
Yes.
It's like, and it's even the people that are like regarded as good. It's like, but 90% of their content's trash. Like, oh, well, they have to do that to get the money. But the 10% they do that's very good, you have to get it. It's like, do they?
People think that AI algorithms are going to destroy humanity somehow.
I do.
And I think what they're doing is they're dumbing us down.
Yeah. I've said it before. I think the algorithm is cultural genocide, and
it's refining us into a fine soup of bad.
Yeah, well, you look at the rise of the angry white-bearded man, in the corner, ranting about some social issues and how then that's, if you accidentally click on one, it tries to push you towards it. Whether you're pro or against it, it knows you feel something, so you're going to either be angry or happy. In fact, angry is probably better.
Give me the brain juice.
And it's like, no.
Give me all the sweet, sweet brain juice.
And so it's funny because you got the algorithm, which is meant to be this kind of self-learning thing that adapts, but I feel like it's more, it's changing our behavior.
We're learning about the algorithm
to match the algorithm.
Yeah, well, I think it's like, doing an algorithm that actually tries to cover all different types of people, their possible interests and the niches they'd like to create and everything. That would be super fucking difficult. This is what the algorithm thinks because it's very smart. Because that would be really hard. But what if I were to make a simpler algorithm, but just change the people? I think that's what we're more pushed towards. Yeah. That's why everyone has to watch Lego Masters. Yes. Which I'm sure is a fine show.
It is. There's some fantastic stuff.
It's very good.
So in a previous episode, James said he started watching Jojo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm up late at night. I've just watched all of season 2 of Love, Death and Robots, which is shorter, but still just as good, I felt. Weirdly, way less nudity. That's fine. I can take it or leave it. And I was like, oh, well, I'll give this a shot. Fucking kills the main character's dog in the first episode in a horrible way.
I realized after you told me that I should have given you a PSA.
Bit of a heads up.
A little bit of a trigger warning.
That's why I put no fucking warning at the front of me saying that, because watch out, people.
Yeah.
I hate that bad guy so much now. He's going to
drags you in straight away.
Yeah. I'm so angry.
You just immediately want to watch the rest to watch
but
him get
Jojo's
it.
such a little bitch at the moment.
He is.
He sucks so bad.
What did you think?
Oh, I've only watched the first
Yeah.
episode so far. I started the second one, but I was like, oh no, I'll watch this later when I'm less dog angry. So it's interesting. It's interesting to go back to. I mean, I never went to it originally,
Yeah.
but it's from a different time, from a different culture, interpreting another culture, and then I assume a lot of weirdness on top of it. Like an angry stone mask. Okay, here's the thing. He's spoiling the basic plot and everything. So at the beginning, Jojo's dad's in a terrible cart accident. This is about it. When's the actual timeline? It's
Some 1800s somewhere,
something like
I think.
that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a horrible accident in the intro. And this sort of grifter goes, look, some people got fucked up in this coach. I'm going to go steal their jewelry. And then realizes that Jojo's dad's still alive. He's like, oh, thank you for coming and saving me, kind sir. Which is about the level of voice acting.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Ping. And the guy's in a monologue is like, this fool thinks that I'm here to help him. I'll play along and grift him for all he's worth. So he writes like basically you go, I owe you a life debt sort of thing. So this guy's grift is to wait until he is dying destitute and then give a note to his son to go live with this other guy. He didn't grift him at all.
It's a multi-generational grift.
And-
The guy really commits to his grift.
He does, and in that time, he's raised a son that's incredibly fit and athletic, super intelligent. Like he's a good fucking dad. He's like, oh no, I'm just about to die. I know. I'll give you the best possible position I can leave you in life. In fact, I could have taken advantage of this, maybe not died of this horrible plague that I have or whatever. But no, I haven't. I've saved it for you, son, because true love is what's brought us to this point.
Got to pass the grift on.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
I don't know. It's not.
It's his legacy.
The guy doesn't understand a grift. Video games, I guess.
Yeah. Oh no, I finished season 3 of Enterprise.
Oh yes.
And that show surprised me. Have you watched any Enterprise?
Not recently.
Have you watched like
I have
up
watched
to,
Enterprise, yes.
Have you watched up to season 3?
Yes.
So what kind of surprised me about it is it almost feels like, I'm going to say like a proto-Discovery, maybe? Like, but better? Like, I actually really liked it. But what surprised me is that about halfway through season 3, it stops being very episodic.
Yes,
And
it does,
suddenly
doesn't it?
shifts
It
into
goes,
being...
you know what? Let's have a plot.
Let's have a plot. And I was trying to think, like, what other shows were doing that at the time. And I don't know if this was pre or post Lost. If Enterprise was...
Ooh, I don't know. When
I
was
can't
Enterprise?
tell you.
Yeah, because like there weren't really too many shows at the time that were doing that kind of more long form
yeah.
kind of like story arc thing. And it's just sort of like they did like the episodes like setting everything up and like it is pretty episodic and then suddenly it's like, oh, this feels like a 2-parter. Oh, 3-parter. And then like this is just basically the whole second half
Here's
of
the
the
rest
season
of the
or
show.
last third is like, oh, it's actually like one big thing that was doing callbacks and stuff
I
like
find
that.
it interesting that Orville did the same thing.
Oh, they
I literally just had up looking up if Orville was coming back, and it's end of this year. It's coming back.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched any
Because
of
Orville felt very Star Trek-y episodic, like that's what it was going for, and then it pulled out this crazy-ass long-form plot out of nowhere. That was quite good.
I love that cheap
was
comedy
fantastic.
rip-off. Star Trek is the best modern Star Trek.
it is.
100%. Like it's like it is far better than because I've watched like maybe,
Orville is the best Star Trek and Star Trek TV show, and Galaxy Quest is the best Star Trek movie.
Okay. it's true.
These are hot takes that we can all agree with.
Because I haven't watched a lot of it, but I've watched like maybe 3 or 4 episodes of Orville. But I'm sort of like going back. I want to finish all my Trek before I get into Orville. I've still got a lot of DS9 to get through. But I was watching Orville, and Cheryl actually thought I was watching Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're basically the same thing.
It's like jokey concepts, but the actual delivery isn't actually that joke heavy.
No.
It's actually just like, okay, well, here's a silly concept about having to go to the toilet on your home planet. And by the way, the rest of the story is serious. I'm like, this is some cool Trojan horse shit. You're just big Star Trek nerds. I get it.
But I recommend Enterprise. I'm actually like enjoying it a lot more than I thought it would. I thought it was just going to be like my filler trek between Next Gen and DS9. It's like, what's the thing that I can kind of like smash out quickly because it's not that long. Well, it's 100 episodes, but you know,
Yeah, it's not
that long. But yeah, season 3 was really good. I really enjoyed it.
I just really like. I just remembered other TV shows I'm waiting to come back. I'm like,
There's a lot of them.
When does Killing Eve come back? Have you ever watched Killing Eve?
No, it's on my list.
Oh, it's the best dumb show ever. Like, genuinely, it is like the trashiest pulp novel where everyone is
Soul.
counter everyone else currently, and it doesn't make any sense because everyone in the show has committed so many crimes, but they're all fine for some reason, and they're all suddenly killing each other every back ways, and everyone's in love with each other at the same time as well as killing each other. It's like, this is the best trash ever. Oh, if this could be the level of like a daily soap opera, I would be addicted. So good, and it's so horny. It's a very horny show, but it's female horny, which I don't get in a lot of shows. No. Anyway, enough female horny. Let's talk. You pick, James. What should we start with?
Let's just go open with the big one.
Which is?
Let's go with Village.
Because you needed to clarify on that. There's two equally big ones.
I noticed. Oh yeah, that's another big one.
Yeah. So Resident Evil Village, James and I got to play some of last weekend.
Maybe about 3-4 hours of.
I'd say about 3.
About 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So I going to take at the top of this. I'm going to say that of all the demos I played, I was not particularly sold on it. I don't think the demos were particularly indicative of the final product, even though they are literally the area we are currently in at the moment.
I think because the demos felt to me like RE7, the way that like you interacted with them, but the game is not like RE7.
No, it's not. Other than the viewpoint and the fact that it's a continuation of the story, and we don't really know how currently. We are going to discuss the opening cutscene and some. We won't go to the big plot beats, but we will discuss the setup of sort of the intro and the first act, which we are currently in. So if you're super specific, like skip forward probably like 15 minutes or so. Just keep hitting that 30 seconds more, 30 seconds more. I'll just make this noise the whole time. Sort of not making that you say. But we're not going to go like, this is what the story is. Yeah. We're just going to set up and then some of the more impactful beats, which one of them is, I don't know, it's been spoken about so much, I feel like we can't spoil it anymore, but we'll see. We might talk around it. Just talk about the effect. Okay, so this is the story. You are Ethan, the world's most compelling character.
Whose name I completely forgot.
After the first game, you and your wife and your new baby in a house.
After a kind of lacking recap.
Yes, I believe they actually say, "I'm so glad we've moved to Europe."
Yes, that's
it. That's how they've covered it.
Yeah. They very much. They just talk about Europe as
we've moved here.
A specific place.
Yes, we've just moved to Europe.
Isn't Europe lovely this time?
One place, like one location.
And you're having a nice evening, cooking dinner. There is a point that now I'm going to I heard someone else talk about. I need to go back and check. But as your wife is boiling up a soup, you walk towards her and, like a maniac, reach your hand towards it, like, oh, I'll go to try some of this boiling soup. Now, that might seem crazy at the beginning of the game,
in the context
but
of
further on in the game, maybe not so crazy. There's going to be a lot of hand discussion. So anyway, you put your baby to bed, and they make the baby not quite well rendered enough to worry about it. James and I are particularly sensitive to this at the moment. And then you go down with your wife, and suddenly she is shot to death by like 1,000 fucking bullets. Like, it is RoboCop. Yeah. It is. Chris Redfield comes in, walks up, double taps her in the head afterwards, after they've already shot her 50,000 times. It's like, hey, Ethan. It's like, what the fuck? And then they capture you and the baby, and they put you in a truck, and then the truck crashes, and then you go like, oh, I know I'll escape to that creepy-looking village over there, here in Europe. Yeah. And that's the setup of the game. You don't really seem to care about your dead wife.
No, it does. He cares about his Rose.
The baby. Yeah,
Rose the name?
the big drive is to get Rose
very
the baby
Fallout
back.
4 then.
Yeah.
Well, my feeling is kind of like, because we don't know yet, we've only played, as I say, we're in, like, we've done the intro and what I'm saying, we're later in the first act. And I'm pretty sure there's a reason they shot Mia with 1,000 bullets.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think she's actually dead.
Yeah. I'm not going to be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe there's a reason he reached for that boiling hot.
Maybe there's a reason for all the things.
Or maybe not. Maybe it's all insanity.
At the start, I was kind of hoping there wasn't, and I hope it continues that way. But it's been so overt about things. I expect
It's
there's reasons for
so
things.
you begin the game, you get into this village, and after a few small encounters, like with a guy that almost shoots you and says, "Here, have a gun," and then immediately gets killed. So now it's just you again. It tries to emulate RE4's opening with the open village being pursued by people until like a time limit gets hit, basically. And as a direct comparison, gameplay-wise, it's about a third as good. It doesn't have the freedom of interactions or the openness
It's kind of weird. 'Cause it's got some it has like the pulling of the
bookcase.
Yeah, it's got that from RE4, but I think we did it once, and then it's like, well, not really much of a point beyond that.
Yeah, it's like you didn't have the freeform like leaping out of windows and pushing down ladders and coming from multiple entrances and stuff like that. It was a far more static environment, but like when it ended, it was like way cooler, like because you're fighting these werewolf things, and like suddenly some of them are riding horses. I'm like, hey, this is like Planet of the Apes. This is cool. And I sort of say that as the whole game, and it's sort of, I guess, it's sort of modern design. Potentially, you could argue with the higher fidelity. They can't make the game world quite so dynamic, or it gets real fucking expensive. That said, it was still fun.
This is why Final Fantasy VII Remake was crazy to think the scope of that game would be
in a single game. And one of the things I did like, so when this sort of thing first kicked off, there was like they attack you in a house and you break out of the house, and then I'm not sure where the scripting and where the AI comes in with this, but we walk out and they don't attack us. They're all on the roofs, and they start like withdrawing back as you get close to them, as they're sort of observing you. And then, like, you can kick it off. Like, you can start shooting at them, and it doesn't feel like it's a moment, but there's like a sequence that'll start them more aggressively attacking you. Like, okay, so the behaviors are quite interesting. It's giving me a really good feeling, but the actual gameplay of it way more restricted and simpler in many ways, but just looks cooler.
So more like cool stuff in a set piece than an actual interactive world.
I feel that's going to be the whole game.
Yeah.
I feel it's
cool stuff in a set piece.
I feel it's a carnival. And once you've done the little intro and you get to meet the rogues gallery of villains in this game,
I was getting some almost Kojima vibes from it.
The lineup of your overlords in this game is the most insane thing RE has ever done. We won't specify any of them because you can sort of... The game starts with like a fairy tale thing, and you're like, well, obviously this is going to translate into exactly what we're doing in the plot. And it does. Is one of the people Magneto? Maybe. So yeah, it sort of takes on more fairy tale-ish style characters, and they are wild. And then you can sort of see the rest of the game, from what we can see at the moment, is going to be going through each of these areas, killing each of these people, and they're going to be vastly different. It's going to be a bunch of carnival rides filled with set pieces, where constantly when you get to an end of an area, it's going to take control away from you. Someone's going to grab you and they're going to throw you into the next set piece. And yes, it's limited. Yes, it's way more linear and that sort of thing. Like the actual, when you're exploring an environment, that's still very RE, but the movement between environments, super linear, super set piecey, maybe not that much heavier in the gameplay, but it's cool.
That's what matters.
Yeah, I'm having a good time.
For an experience like RE, I think that's perfectly fine.
RE's been many different things, and I'm cool for them to keep changing it, because this isn't RE7.
No. But I mean, it's still got that RE like puzzle kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
And, like, it still feels like a Resident Evil game.
Most definitely.
But it is such a different experience, the 7.
It is, yeah. There is, every time we go into a dungeon, James hands me the controller.
Not a fan.
It's too dark. Like, there's an area where you're wading through sort of waist-high blood. And what I really like, because there's a lot of guys sort of like hidden under the water a little bit, but if you stay still, you just see a little ripple.
Yeah.
So you just get your shotgun ready. One shot. There we go. Nice. So I do find like the combat at first, I was like, oh man, I'm wasting a lot of bullets doing stuff. But yeah, once I'm used to it and the guns are like up one level, it's pretty satisfying.
And given you're getting resources from killing things, the game's kind of pushing you to...
It definitely wants you to fight.
To kill everything.
It's not the very first RE's resource management.
Hell no.
Hell.
It can give you a lot of ammo, and pretty much, like, especially because we're in the castle fighting the big tall lady at the moment. Mistress Dominatrix or something.
Demetrus. I can't remember how it's pronounced.
Anyway, like in certain areas, there's a lot of like these sort of grunty enemies, and almost in all cases, killing the last one gives you quite a valuable treasure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like not doing it. It's basically going to hold you back. So I'm going to waste every one of your players. So Ethan keeps fucking up his hands. Like, it starts lightly enough with him getting several of his fingers bitten off, which he basically says, "Oh, darn," and pours a little bit of chemical over it. And like, oh, I feel much better now. But it's not... Apparently, it's so mundane, it doesn't even need to say that. It's just fine. And then it gets worse. And he doesn't really react. So, do you know this? Do you know the big one, Sam?
I do, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so do jump forward 2 minutes if you've somehow avoided this. So quite early in the piece, the lady comes up to you as you're pulling a lever and chops your hand off. And then... So here's the whole context of the area. So basically they need to teach you that you can't fight her. She's the big bad. She's the Mr. X. So it puts you in an area... that you're going to have to run around in, so it's going to teach you how to avoid. But it doesn't want you to waste all your ammo shooting you. So what's the best way to do this?
Oh, you lower
Remove the hand.
Yeah, so you can't shoot. So you reach for this lever, you pull the lever, your arm gets cut off, and then you can run around avoiding the lady. So then to move forward, you have to go back to the lever, pick up your hand, which is an inventory item then.
It's perfect.
Pull the lever, wait for it to open, avoid or run through. And then once you get out of that area... You get some chemical, you pour it on the stump, you glue your hand back on.
Yeah, it's perfect.
The hand goes down, it raises up again back in screen. It's like, oh, that's good.
It's perfectly good.
And I think he says like, damn this castle. But here's the thing.
Making me waste all my chemical.
His jacket, also repaired.
Uh-huh.
What's going on?
It's the most magical chemical.
It's the most magical. But it's also where we were talking about hand stuff earlier, where it's like, I feel Ethan... He knows that his hands are vulnerable. Because we skipped one in the middle. We'll let that one for people to find out. But when he's doing it, we're like, what are you doing to your hands, bro? Your hands! Oh, so yeah, that's a bit wild. But yeah, it's it's fun. It's cool. I want to see where it goes. I hear mixed things about where it goes, but I think that's a mixture of people that want it to be all different sort of things. I'm happy to just go along with it. I just hope it continues to be surprising and crazy and a bit weird and good variety.
Yeah, I want the bosses to all be very different and interesting.
Yeah, because I don't feel like it doesn't feel like I don't want every section to be like the castle that we're doing currently. I don't feel it's going to be. I do know one that comes up that was spoiled for me. It sounds cool as hell. So so we'll be back with more Resident Evil Village in the future, because it'll probably take us a few weeks to beat, because
James likes to not watch it.
Yeah, well, we play it together.
Too many
and
dungeons.
we're both parents with little babies, so although the babies are fine with it because they can't perceive what it is.
To them, it's just flashing lights.
Just flashing. Henry's probably getting closer to working out something, but he doesn't really understand fear. Oh, I'll teach him about fear. Okay, shall we talk about some news?
Yeah.
Okay, in my most excited news of the week, Disco Elysium has been unbanned.
Hooray.
In an extremely interesting move. Because, as far as the rules are written...
It shouldn't be.
Disco Elysium should be banned in this country. So I'm talking out my ass here. I have nothing to base this on. I feel the board has looked at the complaints and looked at the game and said, we can write something reasonable to justify this, in that this game is whilst there might be short-term benefits to taking drugs, certainly its point is not to say there is a good thing about taking drugs. So we're going to bend the rules and assume that no one's going to give a fuck.
And it seems that no one has given a fuck.
I think it helped that no one gave a fuck to begin with.
Yes, they never stopped selling the game in Australia after it was banned. Which might have also been someone... Because I had to argue with a few people that were like, bloody board, why can't they get someone that actually understands? Like, They're not
fully understand.
They understand the situation. They're just tied by legislation. But if they start pushing the limits of it...
Setting precedents.
Yeah, setting precedents. It's like, well, then maybe we can get out of this without trying to get the whole political finagle done. Where they go like, look, this is...
Because
in context, we can understand that this isn't saying go drugs, go.
It's almost like context matters.
Yeah.
Because the thing, the rules themselves are written in a way that they're not allowed to really apply context. It's
Exactly.
Just, it's hard line. If there's drugs and you get a benefit, it's banned. Like,
If
that's
there-
the hard line.
If there is sex and there is violence, it is sexual violence, and therefore
Even if these things are...
if they're two
because
separate
that was the
things.
old Dreamweb one. Two
Yeah.
people having sex and someone comes in and shoots them. That's
Yeah.
not sexual violence. It's sex
But it
and
is,
violence. But
because
it
it's
is
violence
as far
during
as
sex.
Yes, it's in the context of the way the rules are written. Yeah, that's against the rules.
Yeah, they're very, very black and white.
Yeah,
And I think the board is very much aware of that at this point.
and most of the time it's probably fine because there are only a handful of things that have any issue, and most of the time it's something where we go, but the context. Like I love the Bug Butcher. You remember that one's banned?
Don't think so.
So it's just a Pangao style like shooting bubbles game.
Yeah, no.
But there's a syringe is one of the power-ups. You run over it, you pick it up, and it's a speed boost. So it says speed.
But it's not actually speed.
No, it's...
But it looks like it is.
You get a speed boost by picking up a syringe, and...
But you're taking speed to do it.
Yeah, it's like okay, we all understand, like, because it's like a laboratory thing. It's like it's scientists and bugs and shit, and like it's like okay, we got syringes. Okay, well, I guess we got to ban you now because you've technically said speed has given you a benefit. Like, very well. Okay, so but Disco Elysium has been unbanned, so it should be released here in console physical forms. So great.
Yeah, I do like to keep my purchases under the one account if possible on Switch. So, hooray! Let's get the Australian version.
Ah, yeah. I mean, I got stuffs, whatever. I don't know. I'd love to buy the collectors, but it's just so expensive.
Yeah. That's where I'm at on that one.
Yeah,
It's
but it is
beautiful.
yeah. So just some of the art is quite good. I might just buy that separately and not buy the whole collectors because it's a bit much. Anyway, so I've got some great news on Rad.
The Double Fine game.
The Double Fine game. You thought the Double Fine was like stuck in this world of Xbox and PC now that Microsoft owns them. Not true, I have to tell you. Rad has just released on Luna.
On a what now?
Amazon Luna.
What's
It's just their
what's this
cloud
one?
video
That's
game
their cloud
service.
streaming service that we all use.
Okay. Yeah. Is that available in Australia?
Probably not.
I doubt it.
I don't think any of them are yet. Can you do Xbox One yet?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Does AWS have servers in Australia?
Yeah, massive Sydney data center.
Okay.
My neighbor works for AWS. Let's go ask him.
I hope they do, or a lot of companies I've worked for are breaking Australian data rules.
Neighbor. Anyway, he's still asleep. Okay.
Not anymore.
Oh, and one of my old friends doesn't work where he says he works if they don't have Australian data centers.
So I've got some very exciting news on Ubisoft's Skull and Bones.
Pirate game.
It's been delayed.
I completely forgot it existed.
Maybe the dev team did as well. What
are we working
You just
on?
rock up to work going,
So-
what are we going to be doing today?
Like, I built a nice ocean, but I
Yeah.
can't remember what it's for.
Let's remind ourselves
I
that
think it's like Cube. It's just like people working in isolation. They don't really know which individual
They
bit
just
goes.
pass bits on and hope it's what was needed.
So I just need to
made worse
double
by,
check so I don't make any
pandemic.
mistakes here. I need.
No,
Everyone's just sat in their house now because of the pandemic, working from home with a list of tasks, and they have no idea what it relates to.
I really want a Cube Jam.
Cube Jam?
Yeah. So it's a game jam where
Yeah.
everyone's working on individual components,
but no one knows what the big picture is.
is.
Oh my gosh.
So like people are coming up with individual ideas, sending them to like the artists and the programmers, who are then working on a single thing, and then some poor dude at the end has to put it all together with no knowledge of what the game's meant to be.
I mean, I feel that it's just Assassin's Creed.
I feel like that's just a game jam.
Yeah. So, anyway, so if we remember, Skull and Bones is basically a spin-off of Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah.
Where afterwards they said, but what if we just did a pirate game?
Yeah.
I mean,
and then for some reason they thought, you know what people want? Just the piloting of the ship.
No, I mean,
It's like, it's a part of the pirate
Yeah,
experience,
it's-
but we want to board each other. So who knows what it is now? But, so let us remember the games in the Assassin's Creed series that have come out since Black Flag.
all of them.
Yeah.
Unity, Syndicate, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, All of these basically encompass the design and development time of Skull and Bones, and maybe even the next one. I took Rogue off the list because that technically came out about the same time. Oh no, it didn't. No, because it was after Black. Because it was the same time as Unity. So Rogue does count.
Yeah, because it was like the generational transition that came out only on last gen originally.
Yeah. Because it was like,
apparently it's good.
I liked them Bodhi games. I had a really weird time when I was playing the PS4 version on my PS Vita. It was mostly worked. That back screen doesn't work great as the second triggers though. No. Anyway, so Skull and Bones has been delayed. Okay. I'll come back to that. We got a little bit more information on PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
That it will be 4K. With foveated rendering, which is where it sort of tracks where you're looking and renders.
I was wondering what that meant.
Yeah.
It's fake focus.
Yeah. So it's supposed to really increase your performance.
Okay.
And just make it feel comfortable. Yeah. And vibration.
Now, that's something to do with vibration in the headset, isn't it?
In the headset itself.
Head haptics.
Yeah, and that's shown to reduce nausea?
Yes.
There's something...
Tapping like behind your ear can reduce motion sickness.
Especially in free movement games.
And I kind of understand at the same time, brains are weird.
Is it like distracting?
No,
like,
it's... I don't know, it's weird because there's a thing with...
Might be to do with
there's something you can do with tinnitus that actually lessens tinnitus as well.
Okay.
So like it actually does affect the ear canals.
I hope it's like low down on the neck and there are two little arms that can
just like just little actuators.
Yeah, like an old keyboard.
But yeah, like because most of motion sickness is about like the ear canals and your sense of balance and all that a lot of the time. I think it's just it's tricking your brain into something to do with that.
I'm going to superpower it to give me massage.
I'm wondering if there'll be some kind of like some Quest aftermarket thing someone's going to make if it's going to be really effective.
Oh, well, don't worry. Get to Quest 3 next month. They might have it.
Just get the PSVR, rip off the headset, stick your Quest to the front, stick it on your head.
Oh, well, perfect.
Gaff tape, it's all good.
Yeah, that's how this all works. Oh man, I'm still part because when I was trying to use my PSVR on the PC, I joined all these like groups for it, and I still it's people try so hard to make it all work, but it's such a pain in the ass. Anyway, okay, so a little bit of Resident Evil news. The demo when it was up, and I assume it's now just in the full game. It was up long enough because remember there were super time limited demos, like up for 8 hours, up for whatever. People made a Barney mod in that time. Which was great. I'm actually, to just extend it out, I've been listening to Masters of Doom, and which is covering id Software's rise and, well, not quite fall, but, transition. And it's, just like, what I love about it is because it is the time that it's a little bit before my time, but as I was entering the scene, and I'm like, I know all these people. I know those mods. I know those tools. I know that. This is cool. And like Barney mods and everything were very early Doom mods.
I'm going to say, the modern community are some of the hardest working volunteers.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's mildly ridiculous.
There was, just as a quick factoid, just a random one from the book. I'm listening to the audiobook. Will Wheaton reads it. The weirdest thing I find about it is how they use just, like, really bad 90s lingo, and I just find it so cringy. They were hacking the mainframe. I can't really remember an example. But anyway, use a collection of levels. I can't remember which one it was called. It's before the master levels. It was before id got on board of it. So just someone else published a disc of user-made levels and mods, and it sold more than Doom 2.
Yeah.
And they're like, we've got to get in on this.
Wait, this is a fantastic idea.
So, good stuff.
It's a great book.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's... I feel like it, especially the early lives, I feel like it may dramatize them a little too heavily.
It's alright.
Like, you really want this to be made like Stranger Things style nostalgia film, don't you? Like, oh yeah, he was just a wild kid biking around California playing video games. yeah, cool. Yeah, never forgive.
It would have been
for his cat. Ooh, he abandoned his cat.
Yeah. How could he?
It would have been a very exciting time to be in game dev back then. And
it's kind of like guerrilla Wild West of game dev.
You could be 14 and actually very successful in
very
the scene.
Well, my whole intro to all of it was like UT99, like the original Unreal Editor stuff. There was an after school like club. There was one that played UT and there was one that made levels. It was
That's
Oh,
fantastic.
awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
so like I started playing it, and then like it was next door, and it sounded like they were having more fun than playing it. Like, oh, check out what this is.
I think to Quake, I was playing.
Some of those tools were
mods.
so simple
Yeah.
too.
And that was back when they had the fidelity that you could just
Oh,
make
shit,
it.
Yeah,
as
you
a-
just
as a-
make things.
You
Yeah.
open up an asset, you modify it, because that was
Yeah.
I was playing mods with Quake, and Quake 2 I was making mods.
Like the entry barrier was so low.
Yeah, but now if you want to, like, imagine trying to do a mod for something like COD,
Ugh.
and like the level of fidelity on that, like you just
You basically have to be a professional.
If you
modder.
wanted to make a game mode that was just like sort of changing the balance and some rules about it,
okay, that's
you
when
could-
you got things like Battle Royale and stuff came out of
yeah,
that kind
yeah.
of thing.
But if you're actually like, I want to make this ninja themed.
Yeah,
Oh God,
no. It's too much modeling and texturing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
it's like, did you see because you used to play Ninja Quake with me, didn't
Yeah,
you? Jay?
yeah.
It's like those levels. I mean, they're just some abstract geometry.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Like,
we put a hut.
I want
in
to
the
be a
middle.
different shape, so I changed the shape
yeah.
of something.
I mean, luckily, boomer shooters are back.
Yeah.
So there is those opportunities in there again to do stuff, but
Yeah.
it is a bit of like it's a lost art form because
I forgot
it's-
all
yeah.
about Duke 3D modding. I spent so much time making levels for that, and I wanted to do things that engine just could not do. But now with Iron Fury, I bet it could. So I can't believe they have an updated version of
Yeah.
the build engine. Anyway, we're nostalgizing up probably
Yeah,
a
a
bit
little
too
bit.
much. That's all right. We enjoy
it's
it.
fine.
Okay,
We've already said this was for our own mental health.
Yeah, pretty much. So I've got just a couple of weird fun stories here. Okay, this isn't fun. This is actually quite sad. Idle Ninja, who I hadn't heard of previously, is stepping down as the community developer for the Saints Row 2 patch. It's unfortunately because I think he's terminal with cancer. It's pretty a sad situation.
Yeah.
But the thing about that sentence that blew my mind, the community Saints Row 2 patch,
Yes.
the Saints Row was an Saints Row 2 was that it was on Xbox, not even 360,
Yeah,
was
it was
it?
the original Xbox, I think.
Yeah, and the PC port's apparently legendarily awful.
So these people trying to fix the
They're
PC
fixing
version.
the PC version, and they've been doing so for years. And Saints Row 2 was cool, but also
Was it really worth that time investment?
and that's just what I.
This is what I mean when it was like modding community. They
Yeah.
just throw everything
Oh,
at the
I get
thing
it.
they love.
And they work so, and I wish I could have the passion for anything in
Yeah.
life to like.
Yeah.
You know what? Because like I used to run like fan sites for games, stuff like I can be very dedicated to it, but I do other things at the same time, and I only spend a certain amount of time. Like even with the radio stuff I do, you know, I have like sort of set hours I put with that. I'm not up every single night like writing stuff and putting because it's, and even then I would still be writing about a bunch of different things. I want to go, oh yeah, I've got a radio show on Ecstatica 2. And I'm going to... I mean, I know I joke about Ecstatica 2 a lot, but I actually don't care that much about Ecstatica 2. It's just an interesting artifact that's fun to pull up because most people don't know about it. But I haven't spent the last 20 years working on Ecstatica 2.
Well, I guess like the trade-off is like if you were that kind of personality that really pours yourself into the one
Yeah,
thing,
you just focus.
You're focusing
Laser
and you're
focus.
ignoring a lot of other things.
yeah.
So
hey, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, even if I just liked only playing LOL.
Which is a lot
Yeah.
of people.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gaming, but it's such a cheap version of gaming.
I mean,
even if I buy the best possible mouse and mechanical keyboard, it's still thousands of dollars less than I spend a year on gaming.
I guess the closest I came to understanding that was when I got actually good at Destiny 2 PvP because I put in some stupid amount of time. But it did reach a point where it's like I realized like for me to maintain this level, I need to continuously keep putting in this amount of time, and you make a decision of like, well,
Like,
do I want to do that?
No.
No, the answer is no. It was
Some
nice.
people flip the other way.
It was nice to at least like go, oh, okay, this is kind of a little bit of a taste of what, you know, when someone says, yeah, they play LOL, and that's it. Like, you know, I was a little taste of that kind of like way to play games, and just like, oh, this isn't really for me. Because like by doing that, you just ignore all this other stuff.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I like variety. That's always
Yeah.
been my thing.
And-
I always
and-
want to find new experiences.
And neither is inherently better or worse than the
No,
other.
no,
Like,
no.
not trying to like poo-poo like someone who wants to just play LOL. That's fine, but it's just more personally like, no, I want to try different
Experience
things.
what's
yeah.
on offer.
Yeah, but it also means I'll never go into the depth that someone else will when they're spending 20 years on a patch of Saints Row
Well,
2.
as a developer,
Yeah.
can you imagine being one of the two people working on Dwarf Forge?
Dwarf Fortress?
Dwarf Fortress,
Yeah.
that's the one, yeah. Like the past 20 years.
20 years, that's just
of
their one thing.
consistent
Yeah.
development on one thing.
I love The Big Lebowski, but there are people that live and breathe The Big Lebowski. They've watched it thousands of times. They run conventions. They do all this stuff. I think the Coen brothers like The Big Lebowski that much. It was just a good movie they made, and then they moved on. I've watched it a dozen times in my life, and I feel that's quite a lot. Anyway, passion sure is cool. I mean, obsession can be bad sometimes, but it can also be productive.
That's how it's channeled, really.
Yeah,
I'm getting all the bits together for the Mister.
Yeah.
And like that's one of the communities where because that's all just
very passionate.
Yeah, and they're like these people that like they want to take some old bit of hardware and make it run exactly the same, and they're getting all the timings and
Good
like
challenge.
So for those that don't know, the Mister is a hardware solution for emulation. Well, it's not emulate. Well,
it is emulation.
I guess it is
but
emulation.
it's hardware
but
emulation, not software emulation. Yeah.
It's a very passionate community, and they're making all these different cores to emulate different machines. And
I'm currently building one. I've got most of the bits. I'm just waiting.
What are you hoping to run on it?
The main thing I want to run is the 486 core.
Yep.
But also, just all the NES stuff and the SNES stuff. But what I'd like to do is go back to like Commodore 64 and like some kind of like older hardware.
I kind of like going back to, especially Commodore 64 and getting more into like the British scene, because there's like we have a little bit of it, but that scene was it's barely even written about in most of the books. It's like everything's focused on Japan and America. It's like no, Britain was doing crazy ass shit in that time with their own, and like we had the fortune of like running into a couple of people that were deep in that and learning a whole bunch of stuff we'd never even heard about. So yeah, I could go back and play with that.
Yeah.
Even when we found that Trapdoor game, remember? I think that was Commodore 64. Remember the Trapdoor game?
Oh, I can't remember it.
It was the best because we did it. It was back when we used to do top 5 lists, and it was the best like TV show games ever. And it's literally it is. Like it's simpler colors because I mean it's quite old, obviously, but it's pretty much exactly the art style from the show with an animation rate close to stop motion. And your job as Bert is to go into the trapdoor, collect ingredients, bring them up, and cook them to feed the whatever upstairs or whatever. I can't quite remember the details of the show, but I'm like, this is good, exactly what the show is. And very high production value. I've never seen this game before in my life. Like, yeah, I like when you just discover weird things in history. Okay. Speaking of weird things in history, the ongoing lawsuit between Apple and Epic. Now, what we are not going to do...
that Valve somehow stuck in the middle?
Everyone's stuck in the middle.
Are we in the middle?
There's a lot of people just observing and having fun too.
It is pretty much everyone has been like requested to submit sensitive information. I'm pretty sure now this court case, everyone's like, even if we don't win this, maybe we can get enough information from our competition that it's worth it either way. So yeah, Valve, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft have all been dragged into it, and there's just so much weirdness. There's like documents from Microsoft with their internal review of The Last of Us 2 because they reviewed it internally so they could look at it for possible what they thought for their own production. It's like, what a weird thing to come out. Nintendo's wonderful document with 90% of it retracted.
More redaction in the CIA thing.
It's like, we were thinking of blah. Fortnite stuff where apparently Samus is an upcoming costume and stuff. I bet that gets pulled now because Nintendo doesn't like shit leaking. So many... and so that's all weird, all the documentation coming out, and there's some stuff like we're seeing all the deals that were made for the free games on Epic, how much different people were paid and what the
which was a lot less than I was expecting.
Real interesting numbers in that.
Yeah, especially when they broke it down by
acquisition costs.
The acquisition cost, yeah.
Very low.
Was it Celeste? Was like... One of the games was like $12 a user.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Oh, it was because a few of them, because I think there were sort of flat rates, and then they just based it on the acquisition. Because there were some like bigger games that they paid quite a reasonable amount for, which are slipping my mind at the moment, but they were just a bit older, and it's like they gained no one from those games.
Yeah, that's what surprised me. Yeah. Like, because we talk about the acquisition cost. It's just the amount of money they gave versus the number of your users. Like that's, and divide that number by that number. And there was just some games where they were like, I think it was like $12.
But it's also a hard metric to work at because it's like people come back to the store for games.
I think they were just measuring new signups.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They're just measuring new signups.
Just new user
so it's not necessarily. It's also the retention of getting people to look back, but they're not measuring that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. it's interesting that we get to see it all. Everyone's dirty laundry. You get hilarious things like trying to... Could you please identify what a game is? It's something with a beginning and an end and a score.
There's a lot of
that was one of
academics
them.
that would love to answer that question and have been trying to.
So Apple came out because apparently Roblox is on Apple iStore. It's not the what's it called?
It's the App Store.
App Store. Yeah, that's the word. And it doesn't get charged for its in-app purchases. It's its own separate thing. They've got a special deal. And Epic's like, what the fuck? This is a game selling microtransactions? So Apple argued, Roblox is not a game.
It's a platform.
And Roblox developers came out and said, like, we do not make games. We make Roblox.
But what is Roblox?
Because they certainly don't want to piss off Apple. It's like, this is all so weird. It's strange, and I don't know what's going to come out of it. All of my predictions have long flown away. I know that it's very entertaining.
I think at this point, I don't think it matters how it results.
No,
what the end result
it certainly
is.
mixed things up.
It's just a lot of stuff has come out into the open from everyone.
Because there's a bad one.
Is where the stuff about Sony charging for crossplay?
Yes, that's where that came from. Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember, actually. Yeah, so Sony, the long holdout on crossplay, where cheeky people like Epic were like, oh, we accidentally hit a button at work for a weekend. Oh, shit, sorry, guys. Just to say, like, yeah, it's just a fucking button. Stop holding us up. So basically, the thing that Sony negotiated, if you wanted crossplay running, at least then, we don't know if it's still current or if it was across the board, but at least that deal was that if the percentage of Sony players of the player base in that month or whatever didn't sort of match the revenue that they drew off the microtransactions, the developer had to pay a fee to fix up sort of that gap in between. So if the majority of players are on PS4, which they are, but the majority of revenue was on another platform, and they had a formula in there. It wasn't quite 1-to-1. It's like if they had 40%, it wasn't that they had 40%.
So it's like if Xbox users were paying more money proportionally than
PS4
users, then that would be...
the dev had to make up the difference.
Okay. Yeah. And we don't even know if it ever happened.
Yeah.
It was just a thing in a document.
Yeah, it would be kind of weird if the larger player base wasn't just spending the same sort of proportionally as
I
any
wouldn't
other
think
platform.
the platform would make much of a difference in
No,
spending.
but they were worried about it, and they put it in a contract and made them look very petty. But, weird things. There was one thing, I think, it wasn't Mark, maybe it was Mark Cerny. They were held up, it's like, can you identify this? It's like, it's a PlayStation. It's just like, very good. There are lots of fun articles out there. Some of them more serious than others, but it's a sideshow. It's an RE village for the real world. Yeah.
Honestly, if E3 didn't happen and this is what we got instead, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm happy there's other people just to pull the highlights out.
Can we just like on a yearly basis just do like a Judge Judy for the games industry?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I had 2 lawsuits. I forgot to write down who was doing the Sony one. So Sony was facing a lawsuit over exclusivity of digital games. And I was first like, oh, what do you mean? Whatever, blah, 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 blah. Until I remembered that you used to be able to buy keys for Sony games.
Could you?
Yep. Other stores could hold digital keys for it.
Okay.
And in fact, there were even humble bundles and everything where you could get keys. And they stopped that practice. So it means that if a game is only available digitally, you can only get it directly through Sony.
Okay, yeah.
Which that's true for other places as well, as far as I'm aware. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. But here's the more interesting one: Steam is being sued by one of the co-founders of it's Wolfire Games, aka the people that also made Humble Bundle, and their one is weirder. And I don't know how strict this is. So, if you have a game on Steam and you offer it elsewhere, and you give a discount to it elsewhere, you must, in a reasonable time frame, offer a similar discount on Steam. This is in the terms of license. But as far as I'm aware, in both the lawsuit and in the actual writing of this, it's only if that other platform is selling Steam keys.
Right. So you can't offer Steam-specific versions of a game for less than they are on the Steam store.
You can, but you have to also offer that discount a later
You can't
date.
do it only off of Steam.
Oh, yeah.
You have
Yeah,
to be able
okay.
to do
Yeah.
it on
Alright.
You could
Steam as
say
well.
it's on our store for 30% off today, but in a week it'll be 30% off on Steam as well.
Right.
So here's the weird thing. As far as I'm aware, developers can just generate as many keys as they want for free.
Yes, it is a button.
Yep.
Yes.
It is
Click the button,
it is
get keys.
It is. You go into the back end and you go 1,000 keys, please, and
Yes.
then you get a list of 1,000 keys, and you can do whatever it is
You
you
can
want
just
with them.
sell them, and Steam
Give them
doesn't
out.
get shit from any of that.
No,
Now,
you can give them away for free.
this guy runs a store that sells Steam keys. I see a conflict of interest here. I like Warfire, I like Humble, but I'm like, this is very transparent. It's like, yeah, but what if we just sold them less at our store and took all the profit for ourselves? Yeah, I do see what you're saying. You are using their platform. You are using their services and all that. And I mean, the other thing is also, it's like, yeah, Steam doesn't take their cut and everything. But I bet a lot of small developers do not offer the consumer protections that they're supposed to offer in various countries, because that is hard and what you have a big company like Valve for.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, as a developer, I don't get that upset about the 30%
It's
cut.
like that they're angry at Steam
I feel like
for preventing competition, like monopolized competition. Effectively.
Yeah.
They're going,
It's a-
you're bad because you're making us also sell and not profit as much
I don't
on your platform.
I like Steam and I like Epic Games Store. I have no problem with their strategy, frankly.
Yeah.
yeah,
It
like
seems like the only way. Because everyone's like, but they should just make a better store. I'm like, well,
You
that
do it.
explains why fucking GOG is the biggest store in the world, isn't it? What's GOG again? Yeah, you know that store that was awesome.
I think you can have the best product in the world, but if you don't have a user base or marketing, it doesn't mean shit.
Yeah. It's like,
You gotta have the
lots of things
users.
that come and gone, and it's not to do with that. It helps that Steam has a good feature base these days. It didn't. It's terrible for a long
yeah,
time.
well, yeah,
it still has shit in it. But yeah.
it's all right now.
It's getting there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have it. Obviously, I use it every day. But anyway, so I think I've got one more story here. I've got two. American McGee's back.
In POG form.
He probably. I wanted to make a thing. Do you remember Tarzo's? They're back in POG form.
Oh, glow caps.
I don't know glow caps.
They're
But
just
yeah.
Tarzos that glow in the dark,
Oh, fair
Yeah.
enough.
which are just POG.
I still have an entire folder of Star Wars Tazos.
Nice.
Finished. I don't know what it's worth. I
You
don't
need to-
care.
Just put them in a will. just bequeath to just someone you kind of know. Just like
They're yours.
like long after
You
we've
don't have
lost,
to be subtle about it, Paul. If you want them, just ask.
only do that if we've lost contact.
Okay.
So one day,
Just at one day, a letter.
So it's just
Some
like,
guy shows up and it's like, these have been bequeathed to you. It's a book of Star Wars Tazos.
That's all I want in life now. Please. Like, what the fuck? Anyway. Okay, so American Big is back in POG form, but also he's revealed Oz Adventures. It's a hybrid TV and video game project. The thing that I love about
these always go well.
but remember, this started 15, 20 years ago. He even had his line of McFarlane toys that he released for his
back
Oz
in
thing.
the old.
Yeah. His
Yeah.
dark, twisted Oz. And you know what? I like almost every iteration of Oz. The more stupid, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And boy, I mean, I don't know if he's using the same design, but it was like bondage Dorothy tied to a giant dog. Really, I can't remember what the Scarecrow was doing, but fucked up as anything.
Wasn't there
it
like
was-
a giant Cheshire cat? Can't
well,
remember what the
not a Cheshire cat. That's the wrong thing. There's a lion though.
Oh,
I think the
sorry.
li-
I'm thinking. Yeah,
I think the
You're
lion.
thinking of Alice in
Alice in
Yeah.
Wonderland.
I think-
I'm thinking of American Geese Alice.
Yes.
Sorry,
He already made an Alice. He's
Yes,
been trying
so-
to make. He
I-
loves the public domain.
Yeah.
He loves making it weirder than it already is.
Oh, I can't wait for American McGee's Homer's Odyssey.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I give it 5% chance of either of these things happening. Because apparently he has a Patreon to make a new Alice game. It's been going for years, and there ain't no game, and people pay. Patreon is a weird thing.
I'm surprised it still exists because I know people who have Patreons that have been told to actually start producing something.
if you don't
or
make
they
something,
get
you have
shut
to
down.
Yeah, I should look up and see if it
So he
is
must be
actually so.
putting something out every month, even if it's just
Weird.
like a sketch.
I bet he can do sketches.
Yeah.
I'm learning about American McGee in this book I'm listening to. Perhaps I've mentioned it. Masters of Doom. It's fun. Okay, and the last bit of news I had was, of course, an update on the Pokemon card situation in the States. So, we mentioned very briefly last episode that things have been getting fucking wild out there. If you want to get buy a booster pack, you better line up the day before, and you're going to get there, and they're going to let you in. We're going to come in 2 by 2, and you can either have a booster box or a tin, but you can't have you can have one of each thing. So you can get some Magic cards, you can get some sports cards, you can get some Pokemon cards. But that's all. Just 2 per person. Come on through. Keep an orderly line. So somebody had their cards, and someone, I think, tried to take them off and whatever. So we pulled a fucking gun.
Yeah. It's a very American problem.
It's escalated.
Yeah.
So I think it was Kmart? One of those chains. They don't do no Pokemon cards no more. But this is all because of the streaming world and the short people,
the people with big
wanting to
money.
make short money. Yeah,
This is like opening cards on streaming.
Opening cards on streaming and then just selling packs because the streaming's made it so popular. It's very profitable to get packs and then sell them on.
A lot of the inflated prices of cards right now are because of influencers.
Yeah.
Because have you played Pokemon card game?
Not since the very original sets.
I've never played it once. I don't know if it is a good card game.
I'm not sure.
It's been around for a long time.
I was very young.
I assume it's a good game.
It must be. It still
Could
exists.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
never
know where
played
it stands in the hierarchy of TCGs.
Yeah. Is it
Taking care of jizzness.
Yeah,
Actually,
sure.
Oh, that was close than I thought.
Yeah.
I just meant to change the word.
That's not the white Christmas I want.
It's a hard G, Paul. It's a hard G. It's gizness.
Gizness. Yeah, taking care of gizness. That's better. Jesus, moving on from that. Ooh. Anyway, yeah. So you can't do that in the States. But we're not in the States.
You know what? I always find it interesting when I hear about Kmart in the
Yeah.
States, because here Kmart is a wonderful shop that everyone loves and people spend too much money in. And in the States, it's below Walmart as far as where people see it on the hierarchy of stores. Everyone thinks Kmart is the worst place because it's an entirely different Kmart.
With the same logo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So strange.
Yeah. Just completely different parent companies.
Yeah.
But here they've done well.
Yeah, they're the mid tier.
Well, they're kind of like they push Target out of the scene because Target is like it's just a little bit better than Kmart, but it's not enough to justify it exists.
No.
Oh, because I think they tried to be too premium and they ended up not being able to justify.
Because you got like
Doing it the other
Kmart,
way.
and then say
Yeah.
you got like maybe Maya, and then maybe David Jones. Like if you're gonna like
If you're going up
put
the
them out,
ranking.
yeah. And Kmart and Target sort of sits just above Kmart.
Yeah, but
They're
they
the
wanted
same
to
thing,
want
really.
to charge the Maya David Jones prices.
Yeah, and it's just. But I can get a $6 really nice shirt.
What
at
I
Kmart.
really like about Big W is the amount of times I go like, that $8 pair of jeans looks pretty good to me. I take it up, it scans like $3. Thanks. Like, holy shit, I'm fucking scamming this place. Gonna get another pair of jeans. Don't tell anyone. Well, sometimes I just go to the video game section and I just pick up games and just scan
Just to see.
Just to see.
just in case.
It's way cheaper than it should be.
Because I don't care. I think back in the day, I think it was a Big W that James and I went to get Donkey Konga. And this is an amazing story of price matching. So the rule back then was if you find a cheaper price, we match it and take off 20%, I think it was. So Donkey Konga sold for like 120, 150 bucks. We found it somewhere for 40 bucks. So
It's a nice $32 purchase you got yourself there, or whatever.
I think it was 20% of the difference.
Oh, okay.
So I bought 4 copies. We just bought them out.
Did
We
you
just
sell them
No, I have
to
them.
someone else?
No, I wanted them because I wanted to be able to play
Didn't flip
multiplayer.
Good.
No,
That
I've never been.
You haven't dropped.
No,
in
no.
my eyes,
I will scam something to get something cool for myself, or maybe to
none of this flipping bullshit.
or maybe to give to someone else. But I'm not going to go
Profit.
a pricing error in my favor. I know what I should do. Profit off this. I'll profit off it with the goods I've basically stolen. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to the big game of the day. You know, the real big game. Returnal. Yay, Paul owns a PS5.
Yay.
He's the best. Yay.
Go Paul.
I mean, James also owns a PS5.
I
And Sam
don't.
did, and then he decided not to.
I technically never owned one. I just
Well,
had
you
to
paid for
I had
it.
a pre-order.
And then you took the money back.
I deposited.
So, Returnal, or as I like to call it, Ethan Watson's Returnal. Because I did a review of it on Unsaid Games, and I messaged Ethan, who's an old friend of mine that I went to university with, and I think he's the technical lead on the game. And I messaged him, go like, "Oh man, I'm going to disclose that I know you at the beginning of the review, but it's really just so I can then say, and this doesn't color my review anyway. Anyway, Ethan Watson's Returnal." I don't think he thought the joke was good enough, and I did cut the joke. So his point was just like, if everyone just disclosed everyone they knew in the industry, you'd never get to say anything. Like, yeah, pretty much. So I know one of the developers. Apparently, two of the other leads are Australian too, which is interesting because it's a Finnish company. So it's Housemarque, who previously have been making mostly sort of bullet helly arcadey games. Our Resogun and our Nex Machina, which I've never actually played, but it looks good. I might go back and give it a go. And this is what I would call the first foray into AAA roguelike development. Or roguelite, whatever you like to do. I like to switch between the two randomly just to piss people off.
That's the best way to do it.
So, concept is you are a space lady named Celine.
Not Samus.
No, Celine.
Yeah, different S name.
Yeah, different S. A more different S.
More different.
And you crash land on this planet, and one of the first things you encounter is your own dead body, which is always disconcerting. And then you get your gun, and you start shooting some aliens, and then you die, and then you wake back up as you're crashing in your ship, and you do it all again. It is a roguelike in the form of what we know is very Hadesy in many ways, and other ways not. So let's try to break this down. So, broken into sort of biomes. And the interesting thing about this, there's lots of interesting things. It's a really, really impressive game in many ways. So you exit the ship, go through the door, the world will be randomly generated in front of you. It's made out of room blocks, so you will get to learn the geometry of each block, but how they're positioned together and how what's going to be in that room will be randomized. It looks really, really nice. Beautiful graphics. It really sells, and the way that everything's stitched together, it's not like you walk up to the door and there's a passage. Sometimes there's a passage in between, but a lot of the time areas are connected quite naturally. And unlike most, not most, but unlike Hades, I guess, it is actually a lot exploration based. There's kind of a main path that you can identify because they sort of mark on the doors. But you go on side paths, and you might be paths you can't go down because it's locked, and then you can go find a key and go back. And it's really easy to navigate because they've just stolen the map from Metroid Prime.
Perfect.
Which is a great thing to do because it's a very readable map. And that's kind of where it feels like you can spend as much time exploring as you do fighting in the game, which isn't something I normally feel in roguelikes. Whilst I might have to, in Binding of Isaac or something, run back to a room to get an item from before or something like that, I don't feel like I'm really exploring. I'm just...
backtracking.
Yeah, just backtracking in that. This feels a lot more natural in that, especially with sort of... after the first biome's quite claustrophobic and the next one really opens up. So you go through, you're doing all the things. You're collecting different currencies for certain things. So, for instance, weapons. There are as you kill things in the game or you pick up items, you'll get weapon proficiency, and as that levels up, that means the new guns you find will have better stats. So they've got a number next to them. So but also you might pick up a gun that has a little locked trait. So like, this has armor piercing. So then you'll kill people with that gun and a little bar will go up. And once that trait unlocks, that's a permanent unlock. So every time you pick up that gun, you can have that trait.
Oh, so between runs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the proficiency is a per run thing, but the traits you can unlock is that. So sometimes you'll go and find a new gun. It's not as good as what you've got, but it's got an unlockable trait.
Oh, that's cool.
So you go, I might actually use this just to up my potential of getting cool weapons in future. And it's got a lot of things like that, things that are for the runs and things for the meta. So some things, other boosts you can get parasites, which will offer you a boon of some sort that's like, okay, you got you do more damage, but also you take more damage. So it's literally you go, okay, well, get on my arm and suck my blood. So you're running around with all these little creatures stuck to you. I was listening to the thing. Part of the problem with the parasites, though, is one of them might be they come in two varieties. One's, I think the example was, you do 300% more damage, but you only get to eat 4 slices of birthday cake. Or you can get 2% more gold from opening chests, but you're killed every time. like, okay. So I think they need to rebalance them a little bit, because it's either like a no-brainer or like, why would I ever fucking touch that? It's like, no thank you. Also, all the things in the game can come in malignant varieties. So anytime like opening a chest, opening a door, picking up a health pack, sometimes they're going purple. And they'll have next to it a chance, and the chance is whether or not you're going to get a malfunction. And that will be, I could get this health boost, but it's got a high chance of giving me malfunction. Pick it up, rolls the die, boom, suddenly the next 20 enemies you kill are going to drop acid blood.
Oh, the
So-
modifiers.
Yeah. So you keep that moving, keep it fresh, keep it going. And especially since the weapons can... the base weapons that you're starting with at the beginning of it are very much based on doing different ranges. So as you're getting those modifications and different weapons that might pull you in closer or further away, it just keeps it fresh and doing that. About probably the biggest problem I've had is I did one really good run, and there's just so many weapon drops, but I don't have that much variety of weapons. So I'm like, oh shit, I just wish you dropped more health packs or something like that. But also the storytelling. It has a lot of storytelling. Now, it doesn't quite do Hades' thing, because when you go to home base, it's not like characters to meet or anything. But what it does do is has a very good trail of every time you die, sort of like, oh, and here's a little extra gameplay element. This thing's unlocked now. Hey, what's waking up over there? And then, probably the most compelling thing is, other than like, the scanning, very Metro Prime, you can scan things in the environment and get stories and stuff like that. But there are just story-based sections, which are more like walking simulators. In fact, you go into first person, and it's like, oh, I'm going to... And it is very early in the game, and it is in all the trailers, but you're just walking on this alien planet, and then your family home is there. And you go inside it. And it's very... People like to say it's very PT influenced, and I can see that, but it's just walking simulator influenced as far as I'm concerned. So they have... the drip feed of story really well put in there. So I haven't really had any runs where I haven't got a new bit of story, a new bit of gameplay unlocked, like something unlocks. Now, I do suck at the game, but I do, like, I'm still getting something every time.
Does it have something in there so if you suck, it just gets progressively easier?
No.
It doesn't have Hades God mode.
No, it would be nice if it did. And I was thinking about today, I think it's... So, I suppose I can tie this in with the big criticism. I kind of wish the game had an easy story mode, that something like that had like a few forced resets or something, and everything, just to let people get through, and once they sort of beat the base story, then they could just go back into it as a full-blown roguelike. Because whilst I think it's hard, it's not crazy hard. So I think most average gamers will be able to keep making progress with it. It is sort of like... This is, as a mainstream title, it's going to be a lot of people's first foray into roguelikes. And as a game where the runs can take hours, that's hard pill for people to swallow. That's also compounded by the fact you can't save. So if you are, say, someone with a child, or the power goes out, or your friend calls you up and says, hey, I'm playing COD, do you want to jump in a match? You can't stop the game and go do that and then come back.
So it's either you finish a run or the run's void.
Yeah. You can put the PS5 into suspend mode. I know some people have a problem with that. I don't. It's fine. But you can't change game because there's no suspended states like there are on the Xbox. You can't turn off the PS5. Like, I often move my PS5 between my office and the lounge room. I couldn't do that if I was in the middle of a run. So if I was an hour and a half into a run and I needed to move it, I guess I'd just go... far. So I guess I throw all this work out.
Yeah.
And to some people, a couple of hours is nothing. But for a lot of us, it's quite a lot of gameplay to lose.
And that's one of the reasons I haven't actually
Seems
fixed it
like
up.
a bit of an
Yeah.
oversight
Yeah.
for something that's a roguelike.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of roguelikes don't, but a lot of roguelikes also have pretty short runs. And in fact, when I think about it, I used to play a lot of Binding of Isaac until I got really deep into it, and suddenly the run stopped. I mean, when you start Binding of Isaac, they're like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then when you're like in the normal run, it's like, oh, it's like a 30-minute game.
But Isaac does save runs.
Oh, but I think I don't think it did originally. But either way,
It has for a long time.
yeah, it has for a long time. Yeah. But it wasn't the saving thing to go.
yeah.
It was the length
The
of the
length of the
runs. It
runs.
was the like, if I start another run, I got a lot of time in front.
Well, yeah, like if you're deep into it now, it's 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And Returnal, whilst every time you beat the boss of a biome, you'll sort of get a way to get to the next biome quite quickly. Problem is,
You don't have all the stuff.
it doesn't scale you up from. It means you've just run to the second area with level 1 gear. So you kind of, unless you are very, and it is a game that you just naturally get better at the more you play. Enemies at the beginning would just eat my health away. I just run around them and melee them now. Like, who cares? It's like, I understand all this movement. And the enemies are really cool. They're a bit alien-inspired, a bit Cthulhu-y, lots of tentacles flying everywhere. And they all shoot big geometric patterns of floating dots.
Well, I was impressed by pulling off a shmup-style combat system in a 3D world is quite difficult.
Yeah.
But no, they did a good job. Like, you could definitely, because it's the depth, you struggle reading the depth of things.
Yeah, I get no problem seeing anything coming towards me. And the other thing that they have very good, like they have a few like sort of light indicators around you, but the sound is incredible in the game. And apparently it's, I just saw something today, apparently it is actually ray trace sound, which is something they touted in the PlayStation beforehand, but I never heard anyone mention again afterwards, which would make a lot of sense because I've only used it with normal headphones, but this is a AAA game, a spectacle game that starts with best played with headphones. And it specifies 3D audio headphones because even with regular headphones, like that shit you can pinpoint around.
Yeah.
It is like, oh, there, yep, enemies are moving around me. That's great. It makes it very atmospheric, but also very useful for the gameplay when you're going through. I've sort of got to the point where I've stopped going, oh, I can't stop myself from doing another run. I'm going like, well, I died. Put this down till tomorrow now because I invested too much in my heart now. I just gotta go have a breather. Fuck you. But no, it's good. And there's a feature I've never seen in the game, which is you'll come across dead bodies, and basically you can avenge them, and it spawns in whatever killed them. I ain't never seen that. Apparently, it's not really working that well after launch. I've seen
Yeah.
Shadow of War had it.
What?
Shadow of War had it.
Oh, Shadow of War. I thought you said Shadow War. I'm like,
No, that's
I don't know what Shadow
a made
War
up
is.
words.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a made up title.
They're two of the three words you said.
It sounds like a very good Tom Clancy novel.
Yeah, Shadow War.
The Shadow War.
Shadow War.
It's very impressive. I wish that they had thought about the save issue because the thing is, and it's very telling that the response is basically, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Because
Can we band-aid it on?
Yeah, that's
what it sounds like.
Saving's a hard thing to
Yeah.
band-aid in.
yes, because it's like if it were simple, their response would have been, oh shit, yeah,
Let's just do that.
we'll see you next week. But no, it's been like
Yeah, if it's not saving, which means they're probably not storing all the information
Yeah.
they would need to store.
It's like, and how does the seeding work? And like,
what's wrong with just making a save file just a dump of the entire RAM? That's fine.
I guess it depends how much it's using.
Have you played a Bethesda game?
Well, I was also going to say that it'd be like these days like 32 gig size file.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But also, have you played a Bethesda game? Because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of what they do.
That's kind of how they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, mostly very cool. That one caveat, which could it hasn't actually been a problem for me so far, but
It definitely could be.
it certainly is a potential problem. And if you are someone that has limited time and you don't want to run that risk, like I would be surprised if they don't, because it's been a big hit. It's been a big hit. Housemarque's a small studio, or smallish, medium-sized studio, but I think it's really like kicked them up another notch. So even though it's going to be potentially a hard problem, I would be surprised if they don't throw it. I don't think it's going to be tomorrow. It might be in a few months' time. And hopefully there's a roadmap to extend it anyway. Because there's like daily runs you can do, all your sort of standard roguelike stuff in there. It's got cool trigger stuff as well. So your left trigger, if you just pull it down lightly, it does a standard zoom in. and if you then click past it, GameCube style, it becomes your alt fire. So that feels pretty cool. Got lots of like pitter patter of raindrops coming through on the controller. I like that controller. That controller alone makes me want to pick the PS5 to play most things that I'd want to play with a controller. It's not going to take over for most first-person games because I want a keyboard and mouse. But if they could put that in a keyboard and mouse, I'd do that too. Pretty good. Okay, and that is on the PS5 for a lot of money.
I find it interesting that two of the biggest PS5 like releases we've had so far.
Bug snacks and this.
Three of the biggest PS5 releases we've had so far. Like one is a difficult roguelike, and one is Demon Souls, and one's Bug Snacks.
They are kind of positioning them. Well, I guess they also had their Spider-Man Miles Morales and Sackboy Adventures.
Which I've never played a Spider-Man. I didn't play Insomniac Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I was going to play it if I just jumped straight to Miles.
Yeah, why not?
It's probably the better game.
I mean, you can buy them as a package together. So the original game is upgraded to the PS5 stuff anyway. But, it's a comic book. You catch on.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's Spider-Man.
Yeah. It's just Batman, but Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's like
that's the argument,
right?
right?
A spider instead of a bat. It's simple. Easy peasy. Oh man, see, there's a trailer for Venom 2.
Yeah.
Oh, is there?
Oh yeah. Oh man, I hope it's just as bad.
So do I.
I love that.
I like how they had to explicitly specify it's not MCU because there's just too much that is nowadays. They're like, no, it's got nothing to do with it. We've just made a fun reference.
It is weird to have it totally separate, but but it's fine. I mean, like that's
quite fun.
Like DC had its Joker, which is like literally a different universe thing. It's like it's fine. It's all meaningless comic book shit.
I mean, it's how the comic books do it.
Yeah,
everything's separate.
It doesn't need to
when
be.
It's not.
Yeah,
I had a good time with
and it was fun
with Venom.
Yeah, Hardy has he's fun in it.
Yeah,
he's more fun than I normally expect him to be because he can just be a bit gruff sometimes. Okay. Other things to chat about.
Oh, while we're on the movie topic, I don't know if you saw, but I would like to find out who thought we needed a G.I. Joe Origins movie.
Did you? Because
Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins.
Because I enjoyed.
No, I saw a trailer for it the other day.
Because I enjoyed the last.
I enjoyed G.I. Joe.
Yeah, like it is like
because it's trash.
Well, because they
fun.
They really lean into that Saturday morning cartoon thing.
Did we need an Origins film for Snake Eyes? Did they just want him to be able to talk for a little while, or I don't understand.
It's no Wolverine Origins.
No,
good movie
nothing
that
is
was.
though.
All the G.I. Joe movies are so inconsequential. I can't remember what's what. Man, I think I'm not sure if the next Fast and Furious is in space, but it's definitely it's definitely space
cars
adjacent.
with rockets on them, so it's getting very close.
It might end in space.
Yeah, potentially.
Look,
they're certainly stratosphere level.
Can we have a short time to also acknowledge the? I think it's actually just come out, the new Saw film.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Called Spiral, produced and I believe maybe written by Chris Rock.
Yeah.
What?
And Samuel Jackson's in it as well.
I haven't seen a Saw movie in.
There's a lot of them.
I don't think I've seen one since Jigsaw.
I think that was the last one.
Because I haven't seen Jigsaw.
Yeah.
I think that was
Remember the
Still
opening
going.
trailer for Jigsaw, which was like them building Jigsaw like a space shuttle?
Yeah.
And I was like, are they going to space finally?
That's how every movie's like goal.
That's the goal of all franchises, to eventually get to space. Leprechaun did it. Jason did it.
They're due to go there.
Yeah. Well, so I think this Fast and Furious, they might just be in low orbit.
Yeah.
So next time they'll be in full space.
The thing I like about this one is that it is 9 movies in, and every single one has been about family. But this one's introduced a family member we've never met.
Yeah.
9 movies in.
So there's always your family members.
Like it's his brother.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But it's family.
Yeah, but I do like because it's John Cena. Is it John Cena?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So John Cena is Vin Diesel's little brother. Because you just know Vin's ego would be like, no, I'm the big brother.
I still enjoy.
You can look up to me. I'm Vin Diesel. I don't know what that impression is, but that's.
I still enjoy Fast and Furious as like the best superhero but not superhero franchise we have. Like
It's a
Cinematic
slow-
universe wise, it's a superhero.
It's a
cinematic
slow descent
universe.
into
It just
madness.
is.
For me, the defining moment of that series is when they're in the tank
Yeah.
and they're just rolling over all the other cars. They've just given up any kind of like we're murdering
Like, we're done.
so
we're
many
done
people.
with
Like,
the car thing.
yeah.
It's now about the stupid action thing that happens to be about cars.
I like the
good
stupid
stuff.
action thing.
Have they raced a submarine yet?
Yes.
Yeah, they
I
did.
thought they had.
Yeah,
I
that was the
remember
last
that.
one. I believe.
They were in cars and they were racing it on ice.
Yeah, it was fantastic. there was all sorts of fun.
That series is so entertaining.
It started off so
stupid.
serious about
Well,
street racing.
which I can't care about at all. So I only got into it when it got to Tokyo Drift, where it
Yeah.
started becoming around saving the
An
youth center
entire
by
movie about
racing-
drifting.
Yeah, well, racing around
Yeah.
down Death Mountain. That's what.
And
it
I
was.
did appreciate the drifting in it. Even as someone who doesn't know anything about racing, the drifting looked pretty cool.
It looked
That's how they
cool.
got you.
Yeah.
Had that kid from American Gothic in it. Someone's at the door. Someone's at the door. Everyone loves.
I remember that
Sheriff
show.
Black. Yeah, Sam Raimi produced it. I've got it on DVD.
I know I vaguely remember.
Who
it.
wants to have an American Gothic marathon?
No thanks. I've got
Okay.
things to do.
Nah. Old weird 90s horror with video special effects. It's all good. Okay, I guess we'll go back to what was on the episode. Oh, yeah. So I've only played a little bit of this. And it's a game I gave to you last year, James, but I don't know if you've played it,
I
you
have.
bastard.
Actually, no, I went back to it and played it recently.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so Death Crown is a very minimalist strategy game. I assume its controls are as simple on the PC, which I'm playing it on Switch. And it is it's hex-based. It is 1-bit, so it's just black and white color. Lots of line art. It's quite busy and looks kind of cool to look at. And you move your hand cursor around the map, and you place
Graveyards.
graveyards that produce units.
Yeah, and then you
Towers that defend, or
Something which expands the terror.
mines that
give you gold
yeah,
or resource or whatever,
whatever the
Yeah.
resource is.
and you're setting the rally location of
And then the other button sets the direction you're sending your units to.
So you choose where you want to direct. So it's sort of like it's one of those it's a system that's producing resources, and you're controlling where the resources go.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're basically building something to produce resources, something to attack, and something to defend. That's it.
Mm.
And it is... you can delete a building by putting it over and pushing the button you did to build it, so don't hit it twice. You get back a percentage of your resources, but not all of it. And then you have to expand, and then there's the resources on the map. And perhaps the most interesting about it is that especially as you're getting out to sort of more, I suppose I'll call them boss characters or whatever, they will actually have like almost arcadey, like, oh, you got to beat this one by avoiding its laser, and you got to quickly build across here and build up a base undercover and stuff like that. So it's like an arcadey strategy game. It's also hard as fuck. I don't know how you've gone with it, James.
No, it was pretty brutal.
It's brutal. For a game that's so minimalist, they give you like 2 levels of it being like easy. I think I can turn the difficulty.
Okay, you're
down,
an
but I
expert
haven't
now.
yet.
Have fun.
So off you go. It's like, why does this guy have 1,000 skeletons instantly? And how do I? But I wanted to get. He's grabbed every extra resource on the map, but I haven't even moved yet. So yeah, it's a minimalist arcade strategy game with a
Resource
pretty
management.
cool. Yeah. With a pretty cool art style, but it is hard. Actually, one of the things I just find really interesting, and one change I'd make to the game, is that you see the other player's cursor
Yeah.
moving around the
That's
map.
nice.
There you go. It's just a little big.
Yeah.
I'd like to make it half the size. So, I can't see that. There's a big hand in the way. And they've got some cool
Part of the
hands.
strategy.
Yeah. I'm just going to hide my characters with my giant hand. No looking. It's actually cool. And it's sort of got like a weird, almost gross horror comedy like style to it. Like lots of when things are defeated and everything, it's all like bleeding eyeballs and screaming, and it's kind of funny too. It's weird, but I haven't really played enough to say whether it's good or not.
It's just all you've done is given me the idea of making a VR RTS game where there's no fog of war except your hands.
Oh.
Where your hands are the fog of war. Sounds amazing.
What?
So you can like hide what you're doing over here, but you're still trying to do shit all the way over here.
I was just thinking about literally like a game of where it's 2-player and you literally cover each other's face. No, you can't look at this. Don't you? Oh, there's so many possibilities. Anyway, did you have any other thoughts on Death Crown? Did I sort of cover it?
Yeah.
Sounds like I'll hate it, so I'll probably go buy it and play it.
It's pretty. It is interesting. It yeah, and I really like the look. I like sort of how 1-bit's coming back. It's like
There's quite a lot of games doing it now.
it's like no gradients, only dithering. Gradients are for suckers. Anyway, cool. Actually, we're not going to talk about that because we haven't played enough of it, and it was sort of bugged. So we'll talk about that next time. Well,
I finished Pokemans.
that's right. You got Pokemon on
did
here.
it.
So I finished Sword.
yeah.
It's been a long time since I've finished a Pokemon game.
How do you feel?
Was there a story in there?
Yes.
I
There 100% was.
was there
It's terrible.
less of a story than most Pokemon games?
I'd say it's about on par.
Because I might
As
just
most
because
of the
I
recent
think
ones.
the last one I played was Sapphire.
Yeah, which is real story heavy.
But I remember like
It's real good.
There was a side. There was like team. I can't remember the name of the team, but
Aqua and Magma.
yeah, and they were
you've
like
got
they
the
were
whole
trying to do
Seaverse
something
land.
with kind of get this like legendary Pokemon. And I remember there being a villain and an objective,
Yep.
and I understood
And
something
yep.
was going on. I don't know what exactly was going on. I don't. After a while, they start talking about a team.
I'd
that
tell
I
you,
think-
but I've forgotten.
Like it
Which
felt
tells you all you need.
the most like token
Yeah.
like half-assed story. I really just feel they should
I
have
think
just
the problem they had was they had to try and inject a typical Pokemon story, which is usually about a single entity group of people that are trying to get a legendary Pokemon in order to do something destructive or take power. But they had to insert that into what is soccer stadium Pokemon. And it doesn't work.
No, and like there was so much with and I did
Just
like
make
that.
it about the championship.
Yeah, I did like that, like how much it felt like I was going from stadium to stadium. And there was a big crowd, and like still, just make it about that. Like it was distracting, and it's like I was just trying to figure out, like, because I thought a lot of it you're fighting Team Yell, and
Team Yell.
Team
Yeah,
Yell, and
Team Yell.
they just make a lot of sounds.
It's just a bunch of punk rockers who don't care.
That's it.
It's literally punk rockers.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. I'm
and
down.
I keep thinking, oh, okay, this is the Team Rocket. There's
Yeah.
going to be something here. There's going to no.
They're just a bunch of lovely punk rockers.
Yeah, like there's
they're just
nothing,
getting away
there's
sometimes.
and then suddenly I'm fighting someone.
You're fighting the evil science man with his evil science machinations.
And then like the whole big bad is like something's going to happen bad eventually. I think it's an energy crisis he's predicting in 1,000 years. And
yeah,
so
he's doing something
he's
now.
doing something to solve an energy
There's
crisis.
going to be an energy crisis in 1,000 years.
Yeah, it's like he's picking long term, and so he's trying to get some Pokemon to harness a lot of energy for a problem that doesn't exist
Okay,
yet.
the equivalent to the story would be if someone in the real world, a bunch of billionaires or governments got together right now, probably especially the Australian government, and said, we're going to have an energy crisis in like 50 years, climate crisis, all that kind of stuff. So if we burn all the coal now and store the energy,
Ah.
then it'll be fine. I'm pretty sure that's
I think
basically
that's
the
kind of
storyline.
like sounds kind of what it
Yeah.
is, but it's like it's so.
But instead of burning all the coal, it's killing all the Pokemon.
I want
Or something.
I want a Pokemon story which is about someone like farming and getting Pokemon to sort of industrialize them, and like we're going to exploit them for all the thing. And then when you sort of get to them, it goes like, what's different between what I'm doing and you're doing with your Pokemon? And they go, because we're friends.
And we're 10.
and then you release your slaves from their cages and make them fight.
I do have one question, James,
Yeah.
and you may not be able to answer if you can't remember stuff. But did you enjoy fighting the really tall version of the Louvre?
I did. I enjoyed my time with it, but like I think the whole
Yeah.
time I was expecting there to be something like some.
I honestly, it would have been much better if they just focused on it being about the championship.
Yeah.
Made it like the anime of this, like, the whole storyline here is for you to become the champion.
yeah, because they executed that really well.
Yeah.
Like I liked putting on the uniform and all that kind of stuff. Like cool, it feels like I'm going through some kind of sporting event, and then just like this really weird
They
like
just chucked it in.
I'm not even gonna say half-ass, quarter-ass plot that's just like bolted onto the side. Like, oh, okay.
Quarter ass.
And then there's
that's not even a whole. That's not even a whole cheek.
no. But
Yeah.
then there's also the traditional thing that has been in the last few generations of Pokemon, in that there is the post-story story. But once you've done the
yeah.
stupid plot, there's some extra stuff.
So I don't know now.
It's not as good.
I feel like I kind of feel like playing Moon, but I don't know if it's got a similar kind of like really wishy-washy story in there.
Moon or Ultra?
Moon, not
I think you
Ultra.
should play Moon. It's a really underrated RPG.
Because I would.
Onion Games is like it's very influential. Oh, sorry, we're still talking about the Pokemon.
Yeah.
Back into Pokemon.
Just annoyed fall.
Yeah.
This is what's the time, James?
Well,
when you have to
'cause
stop? That's it. It's
Yeah.
Pokemon now.
Yeah. Well, because I've heard with Ultraverse Moon.
Ultra has far more post-game game.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah.
But it's a slog
Anyway.
to get to.
How interesting!
Well, I'm not.
Going through wormholes into other places interesting?
I love wormholes.
well,
Is there a
'cause
time loop involved?
Possibly.
Sweet, I'm down.
Because I'm not.
Sold.
I'm not there. I'm not in playing a Pokemon game for a massive plot.
No.
But I think it's just if you're going to give me a story,
Make it good.
yeah, or at least like try. Like
Yeah, it was very bolted on, and you have
Yeah.
to spend like half an hour or like to an hour just going to different places
Yeah,
to like fight
yeah.
a big Pokemon because he's released big Pokemon into the world.
Not big Pokemon.
Sorry, Maxi or whatever it is.
If I made
Giant
small,
Maxi Pokemon.
it's like Dynamaxing and there's
Dynamax.
Giant Maxing or
Yeah, Gigamax.
Gigamaxing. I think it's if they had a unique form, it was
Yeah.
called something different.
they need
It's
Steve
fucking
Buscemi
ridiculous.
from Spy Kids too. Well, if I made tiny monsters and they were if I made them giant, they'd be even better. But it all went wrong. Oh man, I need to go back and actually learn what he actually says. But it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Those movies sure were a trip.
They sure were
Oh,
for
yeah.
his kids.
Well, the one that was the craziest was the Shark Boy Lava Girl one, because that one is like where they're like, well, we don't have to actually try to make it good. We can just do look one day on this shot for special effects, no more, because no one really cares enough. We're just having fun, and it's good. But yeah, the early Spy, especially the first two Spy Kids were cool. And everything. Yeah, I got like all of Robert Rodriguez's stuff. He's just someone that's worked out how to live. It's like I'm successful enough to just do what I want with my friends.
I mean,
And
that's what Adam Sandler does too.
Yeah. Well, what
Few
I like,
others.
I suppose Rodriguez still goes off and does higher prestige stuff as well. But Sandler's just like, I'm gonna make. Well, first it's like I'm just gonna make comedies that I want to make. Now it's like now I've made it, I can just do what I want with my friends. But also once in a while, I'm gonna do like an award-winning performance in a really high prestige film, just to say, hey, fuck all you haters.
Because also the last one was in the Gem.
Uncut Gems.
Yeah, I haven't seen Uncut
Yeah,
Gems.
he's done that.
Is
He's
it
done
good?
Punch Drunk Love. He did Rain Over Me. Yeah, he's great. Sandler is just. I think a lot of comedians can turn it because comedy is so fucking hard. It's actually kind of easier when you just have to cry and yell. But yeah, it's like he can pull off like Punch Drunk Love is one of my favorite films, and it's exactly the same character as all his other. It's a immature man with anger problems, like coming to grips with it, but done in an art house movie instead of one where he
comedy.
like talks out of his ass and
And then it
molests a woman. You too good for your hole.
Really, that's the goal, though, isn't it? To just be able to be like, where do me and my friends want to go on a holiday, and how do I make it a tax offset?
Oh, great! Yeah, if you did like that, that's kind of like yeah. If you're like a successful game studio and you're not like like a person addicted to work, it's like your follow up should take twice as long. Because you should be enjoying yourself.
You should be chilling back and
for
getting-
something that's
yeah,
going to
get
make like
done.
a third of the money.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, we just write off the first thing forever, don't we? Yes. There's a lot of talk about that in this book I'm listening to. Anyway, shall we call that an evening? Good evening, boys. Okay, thank you for listening or watching 8.5bit. You can check our website, 8.5bit.com, Twitter and Facebook. Please like and share anything like that. Subscribe to us on whatever the hell you want. And you join us on our Discord, discord.8.5bit.com if you want to talk some shit. Maybe play some Root. That's a game we keep playing. It's nothing rude. Well, we're rude,
It's
but
pretty
that's
good.
not. It's pretty good. Sam's finally not the Woodland Alliance.
Yeah, which means I might not win.
Maybe not.
I think it's
I'm
my
3
turn.
for 3 right now.
Your
I
turn.
think it's my turn. at
Your
the
turn's a
moment.
jerk.
Yeah, well, I'm just a Makita cat this time round.
Yeah.
Good old simple Makita cat.
I do seem to get the...
They're not simple.
I gotta say, so this is the
You've got the birds a
this is a
lot.
board game where I seem to get the birds every time. I think I'm gonna not hit random next time.
I just pick one.
Because
Well, that's why I turned off the Woodland Alliance.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to get them guaranteed.
I mean, I'm
should
learning
have
my
left it
bird
on.
strategies. I'm
Getting real good at playing birds.
I'm getting real aggressive with my birds. You know how, like, you have to go back to the root conversation to get context to this. But you know how at first you're like, you have to play like a rule each turn, but you can play a second one, but don't do that.
And it's like, but do.
I almost never don't play a second one. It's like, why would I waste not having more possibilities? To hell with you all.
Worst case scenario, just play another move.
Exactly. Oh, I have to
Just go back and
I'll
forth.
I'll have to fight James one more time. Oh, I guess I'll do it. The birds. Anyway, yeah,
It's a very good game.
it's very interesting. Yeah, I'll go back to it's just last episode you were talking about it, or just go play it if you want. I've been Paul.
I've been James.
I've been Sam.
Catch you later, folks.
Thanks, everyone.